Hello and welcome to National Khabar. Good morning to you all. On the show, we have with us famous endocrinologist, Dr. DHEERAJ Kapoor. He is currently associated with Artemis Hospital. He's here to answer our queries, how we can keep our metabolism going. What are the ways we can handle our hormones during this time when we are all in the lockdown period at home? Welcome to the show, Dr. DHEERAJ. डॉक्टर शुरुआत करते हैं एंडोक्रोनोलॉजी जो पूरा सिस्टम जो हमारी बॉडी का होता है इट बेसिकली कंट्रोल्स एंड मेंटेन्स द बॉडी सिस्टम इन अ वे सो ड्यूरिंग दिस टाइम व्हेन वी आर ऑल at home, what are the ways we can manage and control it?
See, endocrinology is about hormones, and hormones are there in the body in minuscule amounts, right? Nanograms, picograms, which would mean that, 10 to the power minus 9 of a gram. So that is the quantum that we have. And those hormones controlling the entire body is actually a miracle, if I may call it in the layman's terms.
Certainly.
So what we have to do is that we have to keep ourselves stress-free. That is the first and the foremost. Stress, even if subconscious, which means it is not enough to impact our lifestyle, we may not go howling and shouting, but even subclinical stress can send our hormones haywire, and that can cause problems. So any and every method which keeps us stress-free, maybe exercise, maybe yoga, maybe laughter, maybe doing things we love like hobbies, would go a long way in controlling our hormone system.
Okay, doctor. So there are people who are diabetic and they are more prone to COVID-19, and they are primarily suggested to, along with controlling or managing their diet, they are also suggested to take a walk. So since they are stuck at home, how would they be able to handle the situation? What precautions should be taken care by a diabetic patient?
So first of all, coronavirus and COVID-19. COVID-19 is a disease entity, right?
Okay.
Coronavirus disease.
Mm-hmm.
And first time diagnosed in 2019, so it is COVID-19. That is one. Mm-hmm. The second is about diabetes. So diabetes is a state wherein a patient is more prone to infection if and only if the sugars are poorly controlled.
Okay.
So one is a controlled diabetes patient. He's maintaining his sugar levels. The risk of him having a COVID is similar to that of a non-diabetic. That is one. Mm-hmm. So second, you should not be complacent about it. So don't be overtly scared, don't be complacent, that's one. And at the same time, keep your sugars under check. Mm-hmm. Now, sugars under check involves three things. Number one, diabetes drugs. Number two, the lifestyle measures. And number three, keep yourself stress-free. When I say lifestyle measures, I mean diet control and exercising and walk, right? Mm-hmm. Diet would mean whatever, no sweets, no fried, no juices. Yeah. So no, it's a small quantum, but then since in our country the calorie counting is not in vogue, and once we start off, we don't stop easily, so we say no to sweets and fried food. Mm-hmm. Right? Now about exercise, you could do a stationary jogging, you could do a treadmill. I myself walk between the alley of my bedroom and drawing room. I know it's cumbersome, it's boring, but then what has to be done has to be done. Mm-hmm. So staying indoors is not an excuse to run away from exercise regimen. It might not be aggressive, but yes, it can still be done. Mm-hmm. You should keep adequate supplies of your medicines, but please, it's a request, don't overpile because other patients might get a delayed supply if you do that. So keep your supply as long as you want to, but don't do stacking of piles. Now, why are diabetic more prone? Because the blood cells which fight infection, they are less capable in an uncontrolled diabetes. Mm-hmm. And God forbid you have a coronary heart disease or if you have chronic kidney disease, which are more prone in a diabetic patient, you stand an increased risk. So these are the various factors that one must look into for a diabetic patient to take care of his diabetes during these tough times.
So, डॉक्टर वैसे तो ये संकट की घड़ी है, मुसीबत की घड़ी है, एंड वी ऑल हैव बीन सजेस्टेड, हमारे भलाई के लिए ही सब अपने अपने घरों में हैं। लेकिन सवाल ये उठता है कि ये जो पूरा प्रोसेस है लॉकडाउन का, ये 21 दिनों के बाद जब हम घर से बाहर स्टेप आउट करेंगे, तो ऐसा कहीं ऐसे केसेस सामने आ सकते हैं कि कहीं मेटाबॉलिज्म डिसऑर्डर हो सकता है, या ऐसे केसेस हो सकते हैं, इट कैन
बिल्कुल
इफेक्ट।
बिल्कुल हो सकते हैं, क्योंकि ये कहना बहुत सरल है, लेकिन हम सुबह से शाम तक अच्छे अच्छे पकवान बना करके खा रहे हैं, व्यायाम जो हो रहा है वो उनको पता ही है। तो जब हम बाहर निकलेंगे तो हमारा मोस्ट लाइकली वजन ज्यादा होगा आज की अपेक्षा, क्योंकि खाना भी बढ़ा है, व्यायाम भी कम हुआ है, और में जो शुगर कंट्रोल है विशेष तौर पे वो गड़बड़ा सकता है। हम हैं कि गर्मियों की छुट्टियों के बाद शुगर ज्यादा होती है, क्यों? क्योंकि आम आ रहे होते हैं उस टाइम में, दिवाली पान खा रहे होते हैं। तो वही सूरत ये है कि व्यायाम बिल्कुल ना के बराबर है और पूरे पूरे हो रहे हैं। तो बिल्कुल जब लॉकडाउन के बाद जब मरीज निकलेंगे दिखाने अपने डॉक्टर्स को और वो शुगर्स वगैरह चेक कराएंगे, तो हद तक संभावना है कि अगर हम अभी नहीं सुधरे तो शुगर्स बढ़े हुए आएंगे उस टाइम पे।
अच्छा डॉक्टर, हमारे साथ एक व्यूअर हैं संदीप मेहरा, गुड मॉर्निंग कहते हैं आपको, और उनके पास एक सवाल है जो वो पूछ रहे हैं। इन माय क्लोज फैमिली देयर इज अ पर्सन विथ स्टोन प्रॉब्लम, थायराइड डिजीज, व्हाट प्रिकॉशन शुड दैट पर्सन टेक ड्यूरिंग दिस टाइम?
The stone problem can be because of something called hyperparathyroidism from my domain, but that's a very unlikely cause. So let's close the chapter there.
Okay.
Now, as the stone problem, first of all, consult your urologist. Number two, if it's not too severe a problem, I most likely your doctor will suggest let's defer the procedure till the time things settle down. From your own end, you can have plenty of fluids, plenty of water, so that the stone doesn't get impacted, more crystalline structures are not formed, and the pain is reduced. That is for the stone. Now, what about the thyroid? From the thyroid standpoint, no, there is no increased risk of a hypothyroid patient, which means that the gland is functioning less. You continue your thyroxine, there shouldn't be a problem in there. But yes, if someone is on hyperthyroid and is on drugs called the carbimazole or the propylthiouracil, there is a remote chance 0.2% of these patients may have low white blood cell counts, and these patients are more prone for infections further. But as I said, first of all, hyperthyroidism is very, very uncommon as compared to the garden variety, which is hypothyroidism. And secondly, on top of that, just 0.2%. So let me tell you, I've been into endocrinology for now almost 15 years, and I've just seen two patients of hyperthyroidism having low WBCs, which we call A granulocytosis. So nothing much to worry about. Yes, take your medicines conscientiously, and I think that should solve the problem.
Okay, doctor. So in my vicinity also, I noticed that there are people who have a habit of going for a regular walk. They don't stop it because they feel that within the condominium it is so much safe and secure, and everybody is being checked and noticed, and proper measures and precautions are being taken. So do you advise that if a person is living in a close area, condominium, can take the chance of going out for a walk?
See, Shweta, let us first understand that the COVID, so coronavirus, is mild or asymptomatic in 80% of patients. As we talk, we don't even know how many aerosols we are throwing out. So even if it's asymptomatic, it has the capacity to infect people. So you may wear mask, whatever, but as a matter of social responsibility, one should not walk at these times. If you have to walk, walk as I am doing in my own house. It's a 22 step this thing, and I do it every time, and I'm doing 10,000 steps in a day. So walk inside your house, but I think outside walk as a matter of social responsibility and for the sake of your own health as well should
Mhm.
preferably be avoided.
Right. So there's another question, doctor. If a person is on steroids, uh, for that person, what basic measures should he take care of during this time when the person is at home, cannot step out, is on steroids? What are the ways he can handle himself?
See, this is a very, very good question. And when I'm saying this is that number one, steroids fall in my domain. And secondly, steroids are being prescribed right, left, and center.
Mhm.
Uh, Responsibly by the rheumatologists, by the endos, and by the physicians, no doubt. But empirically, which means that if nothing is working, let's try steroids. It's being done in remote areas with a lot of
It's
indecision.
rampant. Yeah, it is. Mhm.
Happens is that steroids make you more prone because steroids, what they do is they decrease your immunity. Like
Mhm.
in pain for a thyroid eye disease or for a rheumatologist, for example, in arthritis or various disorders, they give steroids. And steroids can really lower your immunity. So these people need to be more careful than ever about contracting the infection. So they should take adequate precautions, wash hands, show social distancing, not be walking out unnecessarily till it's absolutely mandatory. Don't go to hospitals for your routine visit. And I'm sure your doctor will ask you for an e-consult. He will never ask you to come to the hospital in these trying times. This is second, that if you're on long-term steroids, the body tends to produce lesser steroids on its own. If God forbid you fall sick, sick could be anything from a gastroenteritis, from a common cough or cold, from a heart problem, you need to double the dose of a steroid, what we call the sick day rule. And if you are vomiting, then you might need injectable steroids. So a patient who's on steroids should keep some stock of injectable steroids with him. He should keep a heavier dose of steroids that if he falls sick, he could bank upon the double dose that I mentioned.
Mhm.
For them, social distancing, I repeat, is more important than ever before. And once the acute phase, which means your gastroenteritis or this thing settles down, you can revert back to your own disease. As I said, that don't go to the hospitals unnecessarily. But if you are on steroids, you are vomiting, unable to take, that is the indication to talk to your doctor that what needs to be done, and he may advise admission.
So, as far as steroid is concerned, doctor, I want you to suggest the viewers also to not directly go for any simple reason. Don't go for steroids, and even if they opt for it after being suggested by their doctors, then there is a proper way to handle it. They cannot just leave it in a go.
Yes. So from the endocrine standpoint, that God forbid if you have started steroids, if the intake has been less than 21 days, 3 weeks, you can stop it straight away.
All
Straight away.
right.
But if it's more, then it should be stepped down, what we call tapering of the dose. And that obviously your esteemed physician will let you know how to bring it down.
Okay, so doctor, there's another question. Can low carb diet increase the risk of diabetes?
Well, low carb diet will generally will not increase the risk of diabetes. Why should it? But the recommendations are that at least 50 to 55% of your calories should come from carbohydrates. There's something called a keto diet, which is in vogue in these days. But we will not go into all that. We would refrain, we would talk to COVID 19. But But yes, there are pros and cons of the keto diet, which we can talk in a later forum. But yes, low carbs diet generally will not increase the risk for diabetes.
All right. And as far as coronavirus is concerned, why do you think that elderlies are more prone and that they should be more alert through this platform? I wanted to reach to the elderlies who are watching or who would be watching the program later. They should understand that they are more prone and they need to be more cautious.
Wonderful question, Shweta. And in fact, this was one thing I was waiting for some viewer. Yes, so elderly, as per our culture, must be respected and loved. That goes without saying. And they are more prone. Now, let us look at a perspective. The elderly are into three groups, as I say. The young old, which would be 65 to 74 years, the
Okay.
which would be 75 to 84, and the old, which would be above that.
Mhm.
Now, as the elderly people are more prone to infection because once you grow old, there's something called an immunosenescence. The ability of the body to fight infection goes down. Why? Because number one, the thymus gland becomes less functional. Number two, the capacity of the white blood cells to tackle infection becomes lower. So this is the immunosenescence. Now, the elderly are also prone to be suffering from more chronic ailments, right? As you grow older, the
Yeah.
function goes. They are more likely to have diabetes, then lack of exercise will be obese more likely, chronic kidney disease, so on and so forth. So that makes them even more prone. Now, the elderly is a peculiar problem in which they can be overweight also and they can be malnourished also.
Yeah.
Once they are malnourished, obviously there's a problem of fighting the infections with the same amount of robustness that I and you would. So that poses a challenge. Now, if they are fat, they are likely to suffer from something called obstructive sleep apnea, wherein the patient snores. Now, snoring is not as innocuous as it seems. It may be a harbinger for things to come. Now, these obese people will have less of fluid in the lungs, which is called the surfactant. And the surfactant tackles the bacteria and virus to a major extent. So the surfactant is low, they are more prone to have a viral infection and sustain it for a longer time. And we know that the COVID goes through the respiratory tract. So
Right.
these are obvious reasons why the elderly are more prone to have, and if they are diabetic, then obviously it becomes much worse scenario.
So hormones is one branch that you handle, doctor. Is it in our hand to maintain the level of hormones in our body? Can it go imbalanced if we, uh, or can we just bring it back to balance level from its imbalance level? Is it in our hand? Somehow, can we do it?
So there are something called steroids, the corticosteroids, which are there in our body also, the endogenous, not about the drugs, the endogenous. Now, these steroids, they can send most hormones haywire, right from growth hormone to thyroid to insulin to sex hormones, all of that. So, if you are stressed, the steroids in the body rise, and most hormones can go in for a spin. We know very well that if the patient is stressed, the sugars go haywire.
Right.
If patients are in ICU, critically sick, again, steroids are high and they can send hormones right from thyroid to all that. So, in our subconscious state, what is in our hand is to remain as stress free as possible. And with that, the steroid should be normal. Now, what about the lifestyle? If you put on weight, if you become fat, don't exercise, then the insulin level goes haywire, insulin resistance happens, and diabetes can ensue. Or in a pre-existing diabetes, it can worsen. So, two ways. Number one, eat correct, exercise, that is from diabetes standpoint, and remain stress free so that the lack of steroids and catecholamines don't send your endocrine milieu haywire.
So everything that is all hormones released by even, for example, by the pituitary gland, do you think they all function according to what we think and feel? ताकि मैं चाहती हूँ कि ये जो लॉकडाउन का सिचुएशन है, इसमें लोग घर में हैं, तो इसको एक कैद ना माने, प्रसन्न रहें, खुश रहें, ताकि उनकी इंटरनल बॉडी सिस्टम भी है वो भी सही चलता रहे। डॉक्टर, इसलिए मैं इस सवाल को आपसे पूछ रही हूँ कि
पिट्यूटरी को बोला गया है मास्टर ऑफ द एंडोक्राइन ऑर्केस्ट्रा, और ये बिल्कुल डिपेंड करता है हम कितने तनाव में हैं और हम कितने असुरक्षित हैं, बिल्कुल डिपेंड करता है। और जो जैसे हम लोग हैं, कितने पेशेंट देखते हैं, हमें कहा गया है कि आप घर पे रहो, तो हम तो जा रहे हैं हॉस्पिटल 2 घंटे और हमें चेंज मिल रहा है, उसके बाद हम ऊब जा रहे हैं। तो जो नहीं निकल पा रहे हैं उनके लिए, बट ये परीक्षा का समय है और इसे अच्छे से लें, अच्छा म्यूजिक सुनिए, इंग्लिश क्लासिक्स देखिए, हिंदी क्लासिक्स देखिए, जो आपकी हॉबीज है, स्टैम्प्स हैं, कॉइन्स हैं, उन्हें परस्यू करिए और बहुत अच्छा समय व्यतीत होगा।
जी डॉक्टर, तो आपका समय, आपने कहा कि अच्छा गुजर रहा है जैसे आप हॉस्पिटल जाते हैं और आते हैं, फिर परिवार में बच्चे, वाइफ और भी एल्डरली होंगे, तो उन सब के साथ आपका इंटरेक्शन कितना हो पाता है सिंस यू आर कमिंग बैक फ्रॉम अ हॉस्पिटल? सो आप अपने आप को आइसोलेट रखते हैं, थोड़ा दूर रखते हैं, हाउ डू यू हैंडल?
मैं आती साथ घर पे शूज और मास्क उतारता हूँ and I go straight to the washroom, have a bath, change और फिर मैं आता हूँ। और ये जबकि मैं केवल हार्मोन्स देखता हूँ, मेरे साथ कोविड के पेशेंट्स डायरेक्टली नहीं आते संपर्क में, उसके बावजूद मैं ये एहतियात बरतता हूँ
जी,
और ये बहुत जरूरी है। और उसके बाद तो खैर फैमिली टाइम होता ही है।
तो आपने किन किन हॉबियों के लिए टाइम निकाला है अभी?
का मेरा बड़ा अच्छा कलेक्शन है
स्टैम्प्स का। बहुत अच्छा लगा डॉक्टर आपसे बातचीत करके। उम्मीद करती हूँ कि अच्छा, हमारे साथ दिनेश रावत भी हैं, एक व्यूअर हैं, जय श्री राम लिख रहे हैं, अजय कुमार मोहन हैं, लिखते हैं थैंक्स डॉक्टर, वेरी इंफॉर्मेटिव। और रुचि कपूर हैं, लिखती हैं बहुत बढ़िया डिस्कशन है, बहुत ही अच्छा लग रहा है सुनकर, काफी जानकारी मिल रही है। तो डॉक्टर, आपसे बातचीत करके बहुत ही अच्छा लगा, काफी इंफॉर्मेटिव, और उम्मीद करती हूँ कि दर्शकों को भी ये पूरा डिस्कशन बहुत इंफॉर्मेटिव लगा होगा, बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला होगा। कैसे आप इन दिनों जब आप घर पर हैं, ना सिर्फ उसका पूरी तरह से आप सदुपयोग कर सकते हैं, अपनी सेहत पर आप किस तरह ध्यान दे सकते हैं। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका डॉक्टर कपूर।
Have a nice day.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर। जी डॉक्टर, थैंक यू। तो आज के लिए बस इतना ही। अगली बार हम फिर मिलेंगे आपसे, तब तक के लिए दीजिए इजाजत, नमस्कार।